that link here on the chat. Got it. Okay. Okay. It is saying it is streaming. So for those of you who are seeing this on LinkedIn, maybe you'll see this. Let me go test that once. Okay. Yes, it is live. Awesome, guys. Okay. Live. Okay. Awesome. That's the thing. I see the numbers of, number of people up there, but I don't know who you are. So welcome. Thank you for joining me. Let me go back to my Zoom window to talk to everybody who's okay. The streaming is live. Let me add the chat window in Zoom for those of you who want to see that. That's where the recording will sit. Hello, everybody. I'm Sudha Jamthe, and this is Weekly WED from Business School of AI. And I am hoping we will have a fun discussion. I have brought to you a compilation of latest technologies in 2022 from a perspective of what can we learn and then improve our careers and go make a dent in the universe. And we do this with Weekly WED every week. So I thought not much would have happened between the holidays, and I was out traveling for the whole of Jan till now, and things seems to have changed. Okay, so I put together a deck, and here are some of you on Zoom here with me. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate this across time zones, across busy lives. It really means a lot that you're here and we can learn together. So those of you who are already on Weekly WED, you will be getting this deck back, what I'm going to be sharing. Those of you who are on LinkedIn, who are seeing the stream, you can chat your questions. If you come back and add more questions or tag other people later, I will come and take a look and still try to get you the resources that I'm going to be sharing here and also answer your questions. So live, I'm going to talk to the people here on Zoom. And those of you on Zoom, because this is getting recorded and streamed and will be shared, if you don't want to be on camera, you can go off camera. If you don't want to speak, you can chat your questions. Otherwise, you're giving me permission to go share this with the whole world. And primarily, I'm going to look at LinkedIn, where I will answer questions. This is also streaming on YouTube, and I don't have bandwidth to go look at YouTube also in parallel. So, watch the stream, otherwise come to LinkedIn. Okay. So one of the things, since I was traveling, let me start backward, right? I came home to Boston. So I went to India, I went to Amsterdam, I stopped by at Boston for a day, and then, I came back here. One of the things that was, all over Boston airport, right from when you get down and try to go in, right, there are all these banners, ads from Salesforce about, AI ethics and how to manage AI and how do we know what it doesn't know and things like that, about explainability, which I thought was very nice. But also talks about their positioning and the importance of AI ethics and transparency is a concern from enterprise. In Amsterdam, I saw an autonomous vehicle. So I'm always very happy when that happens. And that was not even in my expectation. So it was kind of double treat. I know how I sound when I say that, but that happens, guys. Okay. So where am I going? I'm going to a tab. I'm going to a tab to see the video. Let me show you. Okay, you're seeing the self-driving car pictures, guys. Are you seeing the self-driving car window, or that went away? Share. Do you see the self-driving car window that I'm seeing, guys?
Yeah, so I can see it.
Okay, it was such a. So there's canals. All this is in proper Amsterdam. So there are a lot of canals, and there are these roads by the side. And I was just walking here, and then I kind of started running behind this one to bring it to you guys. So I could not find out who is testing, what is happening, but turns out that Amsterdam city has been increasing their autonomous vehicle testing and how it will help public and all that stuff. So it looked like a regular car with a number plate, so I couldn't find out. It didn't. It was not one of the companies that I know. Then I decided to check every year. By end of the year I do this, so I decided to check the DMV in California to see, what is the disengagement report. Turns out there are 43 companies that have permission to drive and test in California, and 7 of them have permission to run driverless, which means without any driver in there. And I have shown you guys before, and any of you who are here has not seen it, I'm happy to share a link on that. The Waymo in San Francisco, which is driverless. So it's a regular Chevy car, but it is without a driver. So you go in and it talks to you, and then it drives and it shows the road and stuff. So it's cool. But the new thing is, when I'm talking about trends, um, I'm going to bring you trends from what I saw along the way, which I'm talking about right now. I'm going to show you the trends from CES. I didn't go to CES, but the CES news is all around us. So I compiled a few that sounds interesting to me, and which there is a pattern to it. As a technology futurist, I'm always looking for trends, right? I'm not interested, I'm really interested in shiny objects, I chase them, but I'm looking for, is there a pattern, is there a trend? So one of the things I saw when I was not at CES and I happened to see news, one of the things I saw was, oh, it's all about AI and everything in CES is AI. And I was like, maybe it is, right? Because we saw a lot about LLM and generative AI. That's what we were talking about. And then when I went in to look at all the different reports post CES, what everybody was talking about, there's AI kind of inside everywhere, which is not what it is nowadays, but it was not all AI. CES is about devices, IoT, Internet of Thing devices, about cars and gadgets. It felt like it was back to that. They might be using AI in there. It's always about data in there, so it was there, right? So I'm going to bring a list of that. One of the things, I have not seen a picture or video of this, but Zoosk is a car company, self-driving car company, which was big hype. They did not show us what they were doing. I've had students from there in my Stanford AI class, and then they got bought by Amazon. And a lot of products, when they get bought by Amazon, then it's part of the Amazon product ecosystem. So we don't see that back as a consumer product typically. So we forgot about Zoosk. And Zoosk had demoed, I believe, at Las Vegas. And Las Vegas, you have a strip, which is like a small section of the road where they have tested, and the car went back and forth. And many years back, about 5-6 years back, IBM had tested a bus, autonomous bus in the same strip. So that's like a small area. You can test the vehicle very safely, right? Level 4 vehicle, it doesn't have to be fully autonomous and all that stuff in the same road. So they've done that, and they are saying that they are going to, they have permission from Nevada state, which is Las Vegas, where Las Vegas is, and they are going to launch Zoosk as a driverless vehicle. And the interesting thing about Zeus compared to the other vehicles that I've shown you with autonomous vehicles is it doesn't have a steering wheel, it doesn't have any pedal. So it's like a car built ground up to be a self-driving car without a driver. So now that's very different, because now when I sit in a Waymo, and Waymo is available as a taxi, I have the option to, ask for help and push a button and get somebody who's monitoring it to come in to help me out. And it's a regular car, it can be picked up. So I don't know how it's going to be with Zeus. So I also looked at, to wrap up the autonomous vehicle topic, I looked at disengagement report, which I do every year at from DMV. 43 companies, they've done like 5 million miles of autonomous vehicle testing, increasing from last year. They have not yet provided the latest report that will come up in January, so it might be a more increased number. So we'll see that. But it looks like the autonomous vehicle companies are building and testing on their own, and it's not slowing down. It's not, it's not hit mainstream. So I always say this to my students, that they're still testing the tech. Now when they come and make a taxi like Waymo did, then they're testing out a business model. There's a lot of data in there, so I'm guessing with the way Amazon would do is not just going to give us another taxi at $7. It's going to be something else about data. So let's see. So let me share my deck here, and then we can jump into more things. Okay. I have a question for you all here. For those of you who want to speak up, maybe you can say that. And please do introduce yourself if you're new or you already don't know the people in here, because that is the bigger value of what you will get out of this. Because we meet as a community, we work with each other, and that's part of our fun part here. Okay, I have too many windows open, guys. I'm sorry about that. In case you're wondering why I'm not getting to my window so quickly. Okay. Um, where's my zoom window and share and share. Okay. Okay. And Paria is going to be sending this deck back to you. That's me. For those of you who don't know me. So the Amsterdam visit, I just saw that autonomous vehicle. I did not see anything else. There wasn't much, like, AI everywhere. The AI was more in the airports primarily. In India, there was a lot of AI about building technology, different basically like getting into AI, to learn AI, to contribute in AI as a career. It was everywhere. That was very, so much in our face. I had heard about, I work on inclusion for language AI. I'd heard about AI for Bharat is an organization that creates language models for AI for various languages, because in India has like 22 official languages and 500 plus languages, real languages, not dialects. And they had taken 16 top languages and were creating models. And following open AI for Bharat decided to go public. It started as a nonprofit. Now they've kind of branched out as public. I saw all this. I feel like the news that is given to us, the way it is filtered, is based on what we see in social. I'd seen all this from outside, but inside India I didn't see any signs of it. I saw a lot of payment and Google Pay. You can actually point and order anything from the street vendors, literally like, tapping your phone anywhere. It was very fascinating. So that's the big change I saw in terms of technology, but not and call for learn AI everywhere at every place all over the in at least multiple cities where I went. And Boston, I was telling you about how I saw the ad from Salesforce. So I have a list from CES that I'm going to share with you. And then the bulk of the time I want to spend on what's new in LLM. So my first question was, is LLM still hot or not? And looks like it is. So and they've done new stuff. I don't know how. I've kind of organized it relative to what we have learned in the past as LLM from my 4 webinars from the past. So I'm going to share that with you. And then for those of you who come and see this new and stuff, I'm going to give you some kind of learning resources. So let me go to the CES list. Okay, so who's going to tell me what's LLM? What is LLM? What are LLMs? Somebody want to tell me
I
what's
would
LLM?
like to say
Yeah.
um, large language models
Okay,
are
what is
those which are trained on different modalities of data from different sources.
okay? So what is big deal about LLMs
They
compared to
have
everything else?
reasoning power.
They have what?
Reasoning power.
Is that the big hype that they have reasoning power? The reasoning power is a new thing. And I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to park that reasoning power point. Anything else? Anybody else wants to add? So large language models learn from huge volume of data, which is words and text. So we had NLP in the past, but it's a different architecture called transformers. But it is basically taking words in training and organizing it with huge text, and mapping relationship of words to other words in the brain of the AI, ready to talk to us. So the big deal about LLMs is it can talk to us it can chat with us, it can write poetry maybe, but it can write at least some text. And it does that in a coherent way. So its language, it feels like we are talking to a human. So there is this anthropomorphical element to interacting with AI for the first time, because otherwise we know we are interacting with an AI. We know when we look at a facial recognition system, it took a picture, it's trying to recognize and see whether it's me. When we are chatting with NLP in the past, it was kind of, choppy language, it was not coherent. And so now it is better. And the reason is it maintains context. So if you ask it one question and then you ask the next question, like when you chat with ChatGPT or Bard, it maintains the context. So that is the big reason why LLM has gone past technologists to everybody to say, what can we do about this? So one of the top trends I find is education industry. There is a UNESCO call for a proposal on on using LLMs and generative AI in education. So education industry has been impacted because people could chat with ChatGPT and get all the information. Then why are they learning from school? Or they're generating content, so they're not, students are, the chatbot is writing their homework. So there were schools and universities that banned, there were few that embraced. For a person like me who teaches, it's a challenge on how do I teach it such that the students can do what they want, because I don't believe in limiting anybody and say don't use this tool or don't use that tool. But how do I get you to think and enhance that learning using these tools? So that is a very big thing I'm seeing, and it's not because I'm in education, but I'm seeing that trend on calls, on discussions, on reports. And UNESCO has put together a very beautiful report. If anybody is in the education space or this interests you, I'm happy to bring that to you. Okay. So coming back to LLMs, do you think anything has changed in LLM? So where I left you guys were in the before the holidays was LLM was big. Let me bring the deck back. So let me share it back. I'm on a Chromebook, guys. Otherwise, I have such a cool thing that I would like to show you. So I'm going to wake up my Mac and play with this and bring it to you for next time. Okay. So large language models, and all it is doing is using a method called transformer, and it's making a predicting the next word, right? And you tell me how LLM works. We can skip all that. One of the big things you hear about LLMs is that it's large language models trained on large volume of data. So the large means large volume, but also many, many parameters. What are these parameters? They're the weights and biases. So it's essentially a neural network. In its memory, it is deciding that the neural network is saying which word in this layer is important. So it's going to store information. So the training data is fed from one end and it builds a neural network, and then it produces the output. That's what all AI is doing, right? It takes training data and creates some kind of learning, and then it spits out the output that we are asking for as a prediction. So weights is essentially saying which word is important. Bias is saying how do I propagate this learning from one layer to the another. So the combination of these weights and biases is parameters. So all LLMs, there are several LLM models. This is from my book, The Generative AI, a primer for product and business managers. I wrote in April. It is a little dated now because there's so much stuff that's happening. So I'm going to go back and update that. Uh, but in there, I'd listed these models, right? And how many parameters, how many millions of parameters that they have was the big thing. Now, there's a whole new models that has come after this. A lot of thing is about open source. So before we delve into that, what are the top ethical questions that businesses care about? When we say LLMs is still a thing and we want to go help build, chatbots for businesses or build applications or machine translations for new languages, what is the big ethical consideration? I'm going to go to LinkedIn and see if anybody is replying back. Ethical questions with LLMs are people. One of the things I've said this before, that technology, that when you look at AI especially, you need to understand the technology industry versus the application industry or the enterprise. So when I talk to people, they said I want to learn AI. You have to know, are you, and it's not just coding. People think of this as, am I going to code, am I not going to code? You cannot code and you can be in the technology industry and you can do like a gazillion different jobs, because a lot of different roles come together to build AI. Or you might be a data scientist. You might be a data scientist in enterprise, like in a car company or in a retail company, in any company, right? Oil and gas company, it could be in anything, right? um, or you could be a data scientist in a technology industry. So the important difference is, are you building technology for the sake of technology, and you're now going to go sell that to somebody else? Or are you going to call one of these APIs, buy some technology, build a POC, test a pilot, and then scale it and go do something useful to solve a real problem for your company? Then you're on the application side, the enterprise side. There are two different markets. It's never talked about that way. So you need to be aware of that. So my question to you is, my observation is there is a lot of excitement from tech, and this happens every time new wave of technologies happens. That technology industry gets excited, innovates, creates new tech, and then they think they know their customers and they try to build for it, and then when they meet the customer they have to adapt. And the test and learn is what Silicon Valley does very well. They make assumptions and they say, no, 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 we made a wrong assumptions, let's dump this, let's adapt. And they iterate very fast, and that creates new technologies, new jargons. That's the phase we are in with generative AI and LLMs. And so that's why you see, you think you've learned something, and then there's like new jargons, new ways, and new things that's coming up. So my question to you is, enterprise, I'm not seeing the excitement fully from enterprise. And before the new year, in fall of last year, I had gone to Italy. Emanuele had joined me. We both had gone to visit some companies in the enterprise space, met with them. I had done a Barcelona visit, and there were a bunch of EMBA professionals coming to Silicon Valley visiting. So I've been meeting with a lot of people. That's what I did a bulk of last year, to meet with companies who wanted to adopt enterprise AI. So I wrote this book in April, and then I was trying to see who is using it, how are they going to use it, what needs to be built out. And maybe there is a gap to innovate, maybe there's opportunity to build startups in that space, who is doing what. And I didn't see the excitement from enterprise match the excitement from technology. The technology industry excitement was much higher. I still think we are in the same place. But my question is, there are some considerations, concerns that enterprise has, and one of them is about ethical considerations. What are those? What are some of the, what can you think of? If you're in a hospital, like I see one of our students here who works in a hospital, if you are going to be using generative AI, do a chatbot and talk to doctors, patients, insurance, different providers, and you're going to use one of these technologies that I was showing you, models, right? What's the big concern? What are one of the concerns? And Yash, I know you're our expert in the room on AI ethics. You are still allowed to answer this. It's all right. If other people are not, maybe you didn't want to speak up and be on the chat. It's all right. Or if
I
you
think I
want,
can definitely. Sorry,
yes,
sorry. I think I
yes,
can definitely think of. I think I can definitely think of the privacy concerns, but more interestingly, I'm thinking of the accuracy of the response back, and people reacting based on that is one thing might be of a consideration, at least in the medical setting, I think.
So two things, right? The way you said it is, one is accuracy. AI is always making predictions, so it's always about the accuracy. And what is typically driving the accuracy in the pre-LLM world is you feed your data
Yeah,
and build a model, and the better
yeah,
data you have, you control that accuracy, right?
that's right.
And
Hmm.
here you can still do that. You take the LLM and then you do the fine tuning with your own data, and then
Mm,
it can make the prediction, right? And so the better data that you give, it can do that. But the bulk of the model is pre-trained. So here, usually AI is trained by data, and so it is
yeah.
training AI and inference AI, which is running in production, right? And then it continues to
Hmm.
learn. That's the learning AI, right? But
Hmm.
now we
Hmm.
have a pre-trained AI, which means it has taken the whole world content from the internet, which is
Mm,
stolen content mostly. So it
mm,
raises questions of ethics on, uh, what's the ownership of this data? Are we going to get sued about it? Do we feel uncomfortable and not ethical about using that because it is built on other people's data, right? That is one.
Mhm.
And so that's the pre-training. Then the model comes to you. Then you can, then the model is fine-tuned, and then it is available
Right.
for medical. So it's fine-tuned to be a chatbot like ChatGPT. It is fine-tuned for medical data. It is fine-tuned for various things, right? So then
Mhm.
now you have to, when you start run it in inference, so so especially with LLM, the concept is there is a concept of foundation models, and then the LLM models are built, right? On top of that,
Mhm.
various models are built, and then you go from there, right? So accuracy is not in your control as much as it was in past AI. That's a very good point.
That's right.
But you also said
Mhm.
something, at least that's what I heard, Suresh. You said that it is making a prediction and people are interacting back, right? They're responding back, right? So the other thing with LLMs, are all generative AI, is it's not like AI does its thing, makes a prediction and says this is the weather pattern, here the levee or bridge is going to fail, or the furnace is going to burst. It's not making predictions, and it can be set up with actuators and just, things happen in automation, right? AI was all about automation in the past. With generative AI, there's always an interactive element. That's why you have the whole concept of prompt engineering. Then you prompt it and you interact with it, or you chat
Mhm.
with it, and it gives a response back. And so if you see in a lot of the chats, you will see a thumbs up, thumbs down, sign, to see whether the response it gave back, was it a false positive, or whether it was right. And they expect that feedback from users. So
Correct.
that is the reinforce based learning based on human feedback. That's what it is called. That's a
Mm.
very critical part of building LLMs, or building chatbots or applications on top of generative AI. So that again could be inaccurate. I came across a lot of chatbots during my travel, right? Relative to my hotel booking, airlines was, some planes were running late. I was trying to see whether it was going to this terminal, this and that, whatever, right? For every one of them, none of the chatbots made me happy. They don't need to, and they're supposed to delight the customer. So I expect to be delighted. That is my capitalist mindset. But they did not solve my problem. And then they had the thumbs up, thumbs down. I didn't even care. For some of them, I didn't even care. In fact, I was trying to get the engagement report from DMV, and it has a cute chatbot called Miles. It gave me absurd answers, very absurd and absolutely unrelated to whatever I was talking. It would throw data at me, right, from some their document. And but they cared enough to come back and ask for feedback and say, how would you rate this and that. I care a lot about giving feedback, but the average person might not give feedback. So that is one concern. So that it is built on stolen data, that it is not going to give accurate response, and it's not in your control, or how to get it into your control is another factor. What else is another ethical consideration, guys, when you're using LLM? Yes, this one in your favorite, in your favorite turf.
Yes, the hallucinations.
Hallucinations. So what are hallucinations?
The LLM talks very confidently
Yeah,
about even those things that it
yeah,
is not clear about.
yeah.
This aspect of an LLM showing confidence will lead to the users in believing in it.
So it makes
Um,
things up. It makes things up, right? And technically, I think they've not figured out, and there is some debate on when the hallucination happens, what is really causing the hallucination. And Yash, thanks to you, you showed me Himalik Raju's research, that when the LLM is primarily trained, a lot of them are trained in English. And so when it is based on the training language, it is trained, it hallucinates, and then it does machine translation to other languages. And now when you chat with it on other languages, it hallucinates more. So now if I try to talk in any of the other languages, then it is going to lie to me more, make me believe that. So which is more scary for the whole world, right? There are 7,000 plus languages in the world. And so also for business, as a customer, right, even if you're not so altruistic and thinking about other languages, as a customer, I go and say, I want to chat with a chatbot that is built on LLM, and I want to ask them questions like their common FAQ that they're putting in a chat, and it talks to me, and I say, oh, what is the new timing of the flight, and the flight could have been cancelled, and it would lie to me and say it is tomorrow, right? And I would believe it. And so first of all, it is wrong because you're not serving the customer. Second, I'm going to sue them. So it's a liability for the business. So the biggest concern businesses have is about hallucination. And then the standard ones of AI ethics in every AI is about bias and about explainability. And the bias obviously exists because they've just taken data from the internet and Reddit forums, and so it's a lot of creepy stuff that has been shown to be an issue. So one of the new things that I found is a model called Latimer. Let me see if I have it here set up so I can show it to you guys. Let me see. I thought I had a Latimer window here. So it's a new LLM that has been retrained from scratch. So, the typical LLM models, when they are biased, it is biased against people of color. So this model said, let's take the actual history that is inclusive of Black and brown people in the world, and let's recreate a new LLM. And it is called Latimer, and it was in beta. I just got access. I'm going to show you my Latimer link. It's called app.latimer.ai. I'm going to go back and show you the link. Sharing back again. So the only thing is they're very smart. They've spent money on this, so they've come up with a free plan. So I signed up. I got this. It's waitlisted. If you just go to app.latimer.ai, it is. So what can we ask it, guys? We can start a new conversation. I think I'm allowed 10 conversations in my free plan. What would you like to ask it? That is there any ideas on what you'd like to ask it to see whether it is not biased? It's very hard to say it's not biased because it will hallucinate and it will say things. Or if you guys want to look at this, I will give you the resource. I'll just give you this link in the chat. You can try it out for yourself. Let me come back to the chat.
Maybe we can take the classic example of pink shoes. Pink shoes. So generally, we associate the color pink with girls and blue with boys.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if Latimer is going to do this. Let's put it to the test. Their whole thing was that it was biased against people of color because it doesn't have their history in its pre-training. That's what they said. So, okay, I'm going to say, who wears pink shoes? Okay, what do you think it's going to say? And this is one of those design things because it is going and it's going to take a while and find the answer and come back. So when you design a chatbot, one of the things you should do is, it says it doesn't seem related to the question about who wears pink shoes. Is there something else you'd like to know about Black culture or history? Okay, so I'm going to stop. So I have to get smarter about asking questions to see what it really does. But this is a new LLM that has been retrained from pre-training, not just like fine-tuning on top of an existing LLM, but it's a brand new foundation model that has been trained inclusive of Black history. So what Suresh said about it has been trained from internet data and it's going to be biased and we don't know what it's trained on, so it's not going to be racist. I think that's what this Latimer is about. So we need to ask it question. I don't think it wants to answer our pink shoe questions. Okay. So maybe we need another LLM that is inclusive of women history. I don't know what it has, but I'll test out Latimer and come back to you guys. But thank you for hanging around with me. Okay, so we spoke about fairness, we spoke about hallucination. Copyright material used in pre-training, that's still an issue. Explainability, no transparency, we don't know what kind of accuracy will it provide, that Suresh was talking about, is still an issue. uh, what else? There is one more. In US we have the election coming, and related to that, one of the things, the downside of generative AI has already begun happening. What is that? So hallucination is a big one. And Yash is working on collecting a whole bunch of research in the hallucination space. um, she's going to teach a class at Barcelona Technology School on AI ethics, covering fairness and bias and explainability tomorrow morning for Europe, and machine learning and hallucination next week. So I'm going to contribute a tiny bit and sit in the class, but I'm very excited to hear that. So if I learn more, I'll come back and talk to you guys, or maybe we can convince Yash to share more on that. Okay, what else is there? So we are looking at enterprise being hesitant, not jumping at it at the same pace as technology industry. And these are all the different points. What else are we missing? And I gave you a clue that we have elections. The primaries have begun, and we have elections this year in US. So what else is an issue that uh, the LLMs can do, or generative AI can do? Okay, do you want the answer? It's
Yes.
fake news, fake video, fake voice, right? All of that can be generated. So already this has happened in New Hampshire. We have this thing called primary election, where, within the party there will be multiple people who will compete, and then they will have uh, they will pick a winner before we find out who's going to be the final candidate for our presidential election in November. And there was a fake voice um, impersonating President Biden, redirecting, telling people not to go vote. So we're going to see a lot more of that, and that is the downside of the LLM. And that also means, can you think of this in a business setting? What this could mean? Think of this, how a fake voice can be used in a business maliciously. Any ideas? Just like they were creating the president's voice, they could create the CEO's voice, they could create anybody's voice. Decision making, yes. Yeah, there could be fake decision making, right? And there could be somebody's voice, somebody's personas. All of that could be uh, fakely created and create chaos. Yep. So thank you for that. Okay, so now we covered the ethical part of it. So now I want to go back to the CES trend. So one of the let me go back. Is it all right if I keep the window? I keep sharing in and out. Is that annoying you guys? Otherwise, then I will just stay on this, or I'll stay and then, and just talk to you. Just chat. Put it in the chat what you prefer. So this is a group called Right to Repairability, and they take a very critical look at technology, saying they can't just keep throwing more gadgets at us without backward compatibility, or that we have to rebuy this again and again. And based on that, they look at gadgets in US typically. So I got the first part of the list from them. So Alexa and BMW have done some deal. So you have Alexa in the car. So this was one, they were saying that the voice in the car, and it's going to collect a lot of data. Then this is a typo, it is distracting, it is not. This is a typo, sorry about that. So there is another thing from BMW. They have a VR headset, and it shows some kind of ad saying, here is what is coming next. And so that's another ad industry in the headset mode. I am not yet there excited about VR headsets, so I'm very biased, so I'm going to just park my comment on that. The other two I actually included here, these next two. There is a shopping cart from Instacart called Caper Carts. And there is a vacuum at home called EcoVax. This is what these guys, the repairability, fixed to repair, right to repairability team had included. But I found that fascinating because both of these are products that already have been brought to market through a different company, and so it's not an original idea. So a vacuum, an automated vacuum at home called EcoVax, and a shopping cart, smart shopping cart. So let me come back, ask you guys. So does it remind you of any other product you have seen? Especially the person who goes to CES should be regularly should be able to answer this. It's not even at CES. This is something that we have discussed before. So one is, think of a device in the house that is autonomous, roams around, and they've made it as a vacuum cleaner. But there's another company who had this as a robot, and they roamed around the house, and they would collect data about who lives in the house, what is their profile, what time of the night will they move up and down, and things like that. Yash, you cannot answer this. I want somebody else. I know you.
I want
I
to
know you know
answer.
this. No, no, no. Let's see if somebody else answered this. I have talked about this. I have put this in all my, especially I don't have anybody from the BTS Barcelona Technology School students here, because I put this as an example of how not to design AI as an example from this other company. They made a robot which roamed around the house and collected creepy data, right? Collected data in a very creepy way. So this is another company who thought this was an amazing idea. Let's make a vacuum cleaner and let's go. A vacuum cleaner can collect information, right? I have Roomba forever in my house, and then Roomba is owned by Amazon, for those of you who don't know that. And I also have a Sharp vacuum cleaner, which is super annoying. It can be pre-programmed to go up at different times. It doesn't work so greatly about the programming part. And Suresh here has a lot of experience building automated vacuum cleaners, right, from various brands. But this one collects data, right? The Sharp one supposedly collects data in my house to understand what are the rooms, dimensions, and stuff. The one I'm talking about collects information about people. It has a camera, it has a lidar, it's almost like a mini autonomous vehicle driving around in my house, but it's collecting data. I don't want anything driving around in my house collecting camera information about people. That's a level of creepiness. And this company had it. It was a big company. And then they decided that this was not okay. And so they ended up moving it out to become a product on the roads, on the outside. And I'm giving you a clue because they moved this out of the house and made it into a product that will be watching the storefront. Given you enough clue. Can anybody guess what it is? I'm seeing if anybody's adding anything in the chat. Okay, Yash, your turn. What is that device?
Is
You
it
can
the
tell.
Astro Robot?
Yes, the Astro robot from Amazon was doing exactly that, right? It'll roam around the house, watch you, collect information in a very creepy way. Thank God they decided to pull it out and said, we won't do this for the home. And they launched it for the outside of the house into the streets where it will watch shops. And so now somebody has come up with this EcoVac to do the exact same thing inside the house. So it definitely is creepy, though I sound biased here. The other one, which is the smart cart, Instacart has launched that, and it is like a shopping cart. You walk around and it has a display. As you walk around, you put things in and out, and it will keep track of how much you've spent, what is in the cart, and so you can just go pay. It's supposed to have a map of the shop and do other things which are not so exciting, but it keeps track of your shopping and your payment, so you can check out quickly is what it is doing. Who else does that? Somebody else does that. One company has smart, actually there are two companies. There's a startup also here in California who does that, but one big company does that. What is it? What is that? But this one, so that company has a smart shopping cart. You go in and it will track what you put inside. It's not a cart. That company doesn't have a cart. It has a basket. You put things in and out of a basket. It's watching you, and it will update in your app, and then you pay. Right? It withdraws money from your preset credit card automatically. So it's very fast. That's what that retail company is doing. and this one is making a smart shopping cart. I've seen so many versions of this shopping cart. I've seen so many people who have, in my IoT original IoT book, I've covered this from a student group from Germany who made a similar shopping cart, but this has a lot more data collection. So it will remember your past shopping habits, which means I went to buy tea, and I decided not to buy tea and left it, and then I bought other things. Next time I come, it knows I wanted tea, I put it out, and it remembers all that. I don't know how they're going to show it. I don't know what they're going to do with it. Of course, they're going to profile me and try to upsell more, but it understands your shopping behavior. And so this is what I keep telling all my classes, right? You have to think about the customer, put yourself in the customer's shoes, start from there. What problem you're solving? Are they comfortable? Are we decent to them? Are they ethical to the customer? Sit with the customer, go in and go build the product. Don't start with the technology, build the product and come and say, this is wonderful, we can do all these things with this data, and then here, customer, I'm going to give you this service to do something else. Is how most of tech design happens and fails, because customers are not stupid. So who did this? Anybody? And especially if you've been in Bay Area, you might have seen it. There's a shop where you can go in and out quickly, and as you put things in the shopping cart into a basket, it's measured, and you just check and you just leave. Which is the smart store? Who knows this one? Amazon has a store. We have it right here in San Jose. If somebody wants to visit here, um, and it's a smart store, and you just go in and out with your Amazon ID. It recognizes you, and then there's facial recognition. It does for in front of every aisle. There is a camera, and it watches you, and so it thinks you went to that, you paused, and when you put things inside your cart, it's watching you based on that cameras is what is doing everything for it. And in this, the cart, I don't know whether it is checking by weight or the action of putting in and out. How there's no camera here, I don't know how it is doing it. But that's the smart shopping cart. I'm kind of on the fence about the shopping cart. I don't like it storing past shopping information, which is bad, but putting things inside and tracking how much I have to pay and helping me and all that sounds good. Like a smart shopping cart doesn't look like a bad idea to me. What do you guys think? So this was one of the things from CES. And then there was one other. Do you guys like the idea? Maybe you're okay with that. Maybe they're not. I think
Anything,
nobody. Yeah.
anything in the retail segment, right?
Yeah.
Irrespective of whether we like it or not, it's gonna take off.
I would not say that, I just think retail is all about data and they want to personalize. Retail's dream is to know what we want and give it to us before we want it and take all our money and give us more loans and give us more money. And, that's the capitalist approach. The good side for product managers who work on this is they're saying we are looking for something. Can we give the customer exactly such that instead of making them search? So they mean well, right? Many of the product managers mean well, but the minute it gets to data and collection, so I won't say it's taken off because the Amazon model of the store has not taken off everywhere. All retailers are not doing this. There have been variations of this smart cart and smart fridge has been around in many iterations by many companies again and again and again. It's not taken off yet. You have to solve the problem with customer sensitivity, and it has to make commercial sense for them, right? By doing this, are they actually getting the ROI? And that was one. Am I going to be brand loyal to that company because they're giving me this cart? Am I going to shop more because they're giving me this cart? And uh, are they able to make me feel comfortable that it is not creepy? That's the other thing. Yeah, it might be. Yeah, that part is true. Yeah, I see a comment here. It may be expensive to launch at scale. I mean, the thing of anything that's a hardware product is always hard to launch at scale. Uh, you know, compared to a software product. But here they are using data, which I don't know. So they could go partner with. This one of my students had done this in the past. They could go partner with the carting the some company which makes the shopping cart, and this could be the digitization of the shopping cart. Then it could be a digital transformation story and it might make sense and they would justify the cost and all that stuff. Finally, you still have to get the customer to buy into it. I believe that you cannot push products that the customer doesn't want, because you cannot fool everybody all the time. You might fool a small segment, and I think it's an Abraham Lincoln quote, that you can fool some people sometime, you cannot fool all people at all times. Okay, so there is one more thing. I have not seen this. I would like to see this. I'm kind of, this is not from the repair guys. This is my own list. I saw that Nuance Audio has partnered with Ray-Ban, and they've added the hearing aid capability to the glasses, which I thought was very useful. I don't know the usability of how this has come. So if you are out there, you've seen this in CES, or you use Ray-Ban, or if this is something that's interesting, I would like to get your feedback and see the reality of what this is. Okay, now I'm going to switch to my final list. This is a lot, so I'm sorry, I've just put it in small words. I'm going to use this for my notes and talk to you guys. Let me, and I'm going to give you this in my deck, right? So one, I told you about Latimer, which is without bias. So essentially it is including Black history. That's what Latimer is about. In pre-training, the entire LLM models have been created. I'm going to get out of this because it's not very readable. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm going to look at that. I'm going to, when I give you the deck, I'm going to give you this in a readable form. But I'm going to use that for my own notes to talk to you now. So one is, there is something called Mamba, MAMBA. It is a new kind of architecture. So the big thing with LLM was how it stored data of words next to each other to know what word was important, to understand context, so it can continue a conversation and talk to us like a human. That was the big thing about LLM that came from transformer architecture. So Yash, this might interest you. There is another new kind of architecture. It is called space state model architecture, SSM, and Mamba is the big one. So one of the things you will hear, I've already said this, every time we learn something, there will be new things coming from tech, and then there'll be new jargons, and it intimidates us, makes us feel like we don't know enough. So it's important to know what is being done. Is it done in pre-training? Then you don't have to worry about it. It something is done in pre-training, then it will be built out into a model and an API or a tool or a platform on top of it. Then it comes to enterprise, then you're going to go build on top of it. So you have to see, where are you operating in here? Yash, I believe you would be interested in this because this is pre-training, and it's competing with transformer model, outperforming transformer model in the benchmark to get better accuracy. What Suresh was saying, does it give me the accuracy I want? Otherwise, what's the point? And this Mambo model is doing that. So you might want to check it out. The other thing is, we had a speaker, peer, who came and talked to us from France about no code LLMs. And he mentioned, I'm going to write this here, it's called Mistral 7B. He said there is they do not, in France, they don't want to use OpenAI and GPTs. They don't trust the models that's been built here, and they wanted to create something from open source ground up, and they made a model called Mistral 7B. Before that, Llama 7B, which came from Facebook and open source, was the big thing. Now Mistral 7B has picked up, so you will hear this name like you're hearing about GPT-4 and everything. This Mistral 7B is the big one. And Pierre had talked to us, and he had offered that he's building a no code platform to build LLMs based on Mistral 7B. And so this, I believe, Pierre, in our weekly WED list, and also if you go to the YouTube on our archives, we have the Pierre's presentation. So I will ask Paria to link that when we send the follow-up on weekly WED or in the newsletter, so you can get access to that. But what is interesting, it's not just another model, right? There are new models that have come up from what we were looking at last year. Mistral 7B has bubbled up. But what is interesting is, remember in AI, there is AI that is built, and then you get it in inference. Now every AI you're interacting with this in inference, but it is sitting in the cloud. So Mistral 7B has something called Mistral 7B Instruct, which is you can run inference right on a computer. So I can go download Mistral 7B. I do not have it on, I'm running on a Chromebook here. So I'm going to test it on my Mac. I believe I can do it only on a Mac or a Linux machine. It's not available on Windows. So what you can do is, what is Mixtral of Experts? Okay, thank you, Yash. I will check that paper out. So the Mistral 7B, essentially you can take, so the big challenge with LLMs and models is it is so huge. It is sitting somewhere. So they've done the pre-training with huge volume of data. Still, it has so many parameters, right? So many billion parameters. That billion parameters are numbers and maths. It is sitting somewhere. So it's a huge footprint. So they store it on the cloud. So you have to go through Azure or Amazon Cloud or Google Cloud to go access that. That is how enterprise has to access LLMs today. So you get an API through some cloud, and then you kind of try to build a chatbot or something with it, right? And now what Mistral 7B has done, and I believe Mozilla also has done a version of this for LLMs, to create a footprint that you can just run on your laptop or or on the edge. It could be an edge device, it could be inside the edge network. And so the Mistral 7B is essentially giving you an inference server. So it's the whole model, but you download it and you can run it. So I'm going to test this out. If somebody here in our community wants to work with me, I'm happy to collaborate with you and you can play with this. My understanding is we can download it and you will have a chatbot like a chat GPT running on my computer, and then I can chat with it, I can do things with it, right? Like I'm doing a chat GPT now. If you want to test this for your enterprise and you want to fine tune it and you want to do things with, you can literally do it within your firewall with. So this whole thing of I'm sending data somewhere and it is going out and it is not safe, all those things what we had learned, right, as RAG, with Llama Index and LangChain in the past. Those are things we have covered in Weekly Wed in the last November month. Again, if you guys want to refresh on it, we can bring it back. Those exist today. That's the only way by which you can do integrations and talk to LLMs. But this new thing is you can run it. It's called inference servers, and you can run that. So that's like the new thing that has come up in the last month when I was not online. And then the same thing it is, I'm going to go back. I'm sorry, it is not readable print, but I think instead of me just, spamming up words, you guys need to see this. So I'm going to show you this. So what I was showing you was Latimer, that includes Black history. The Mistral 7B is the new one, right, from pre-training. And that what you can build applications using RAG that we have covered before. And this inference run inference LLM on the out of the box on your laptop is the Mistral 7B Instruct. Here's the link. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to play with this, and I'm going to show you a demo on how to do this yourself. I want you to think about this. If you're interacting with enterprise, if you're helping companies build this, if you are doing this for your own company, how are you going to use this? You have a full power of LLM right on your laptop. It's like a piece of software. You can just run it. You don't need Python. You don't need any coding, nothing to do this, right? It's an application. It's like downloading an app. Now it runs on, and it can open up, and it is like a chat GPT, right? Now you do not have to worry about the security and how data is sent anywhere. What would you do? What would you do for your enterprise clients? What kind of applications would you build? What would you do with this? And for developers, there is an equivalent of that called Cody, I believe it's called VS Cody, which is also in open source, where if you're using Visual Studio and coding, you can actually have your own chatbot. It's called not Cody, it's called CUDA. VS CUDA, sorry. It's called VS CUDA. So that's the chatbot that is on the machine. So in summary, what I'm seeing with the new thing with LLM is in pre-training, there's a lot of stuff happening in open source. We don't need to worry about it unless you're building foundation models. There's a lot of stuff happening to improve hallucinations that Yash is going to research and bring for us. Then if you're and then the new trend seems to be open source LLMs and to bring them as a downloadable app down to your laptop. And so the Mistral 7B Instruct is something you can download on your laptop, which I'm promising to bring for you guys. And the VS CUDA is available automatically as part of Visual Studio for people who are coding. If you want to check syntax of your code and logic of your code, what Yash was saying about reasoning that LLM does, if you want to check your work while you're developing as a programmer, we as CUDA does that for you. But the point I want to make is the trend seems to be to bring that inference LLM down to your machine, down to the edge. So think about how will you use this? How will you use this for your customers? How will you use this for enterprise? How will you use this yourself? So that's the exercise I'm going to do. I'm going to play with this. So if anybody wants to partner with me to do that, I'm happy to do that. So with that, I think we have come to the end of our time or past our time. So I'm going to wrap up. So for those of you who have not looked at my LLM course, so we did the 4 webinars, right? Pariya has put that together as a beautiful course. Thank you, Pariya. So you can get that as a certificate course. Where is this? I'm going to share that and then I'm going to wrap up, guys. So it's bit.ly/LLM Jamthe course on Business School of AI on Teachable. And it will basically the 4 webinars that you have done. You can go back at a refresher and go watch those, and you get to get a LLM certificate. But also some of you have not done all the 4 webinars, so it will be helpful for you understanding what is LLM, how it works in its brain, what is the ecosystem, how to make sense of what is the model that you have to pick for your company, what is the difference between open source and others. And then the big part is about how do you build a chatbot? What are the capabilities of a chatbot? How to understand that and arrive at starting from a problem to mapping to the capability to go build a chatbot. How do you go through that? And the RAG, which is how you would have an extra data source, which is your own data source for the airlines or a customer service, and your own data that you have. Now, how do you use the LLM to fine tune with your data so that you can build chatbot for your customers? So all of that is covered as a 4-part webinar included in one course. So it'll take about 4 hours, but I would safely keep like 5 hours, and you can keep doing one at a time. So even if you do 1 hour, at the end of it, you will get LLM certificates if you want to get started with that. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. You guys became quiet after some time, so I hope it's all good. And please follow up if I can help you with any of this. And I will see you next week. And I'm going to resume back my Sudha Live, which I do at 6 p.m. my time. So it might not work for time zone for all of you, but I'm going to bring jobs and call for papers and events and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of meetup and events. I'm not completely tuned into that, but definitely I'll bring jobs, call for papers, opportunities, and I will share all the links that I've been giving here also. So I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you, engaging and hanging around. And for those of you who are watching on LinkedIn, I'll come share these links, and we'll continue the conversation. And this is just the beginning, right? This is the beginning of the year, and this is the new stuff. So hope it's not overwhelming. It was for me when I got started. I was like 1 month I was offline, and what happened here? So thank you so much, guys. I appreciate that. So stay safe. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.